Hi and welcome to another video. In this video we will be looking at the Substrings project, and this is the second task within the Ruby path of the Odin project. And this is a really good way to learn about working with hashes and arrays and the methods for each in Ruby. So what you need to do is create a method that takes a word as the first argument and then an array of substrings as the second argument, and it should return a hash listing each substring that was found in the original string or word and how many times it was found. So practically it looks like this. We have dictionary, which is equal to this array of strings or substrings as we're calling them. And then we have this method call here, and we're passing in this string below as the first argument, and then we're passing in this dictionary array as the second argument. And what your method is doing is it's going to tell you how many times one of these substrings occurred within this first argument string, and it should output a hash that shows both the substring and the number of times that it occurred as a key value pair. Also should be able to take multiple words within the first string. So here we have this string, which is multiple words, and it transpires that all of these substrings are found with this many counts within this first string. Okay, let's take a look at my first solution here. So this is a pretty long and dare say ugly solution to this problem. I still think it's good to show this again just as a newbie just trying to come up with a solution to this, how the mind works and the thought process going through it. And then after this I'll show you a more efficient refactored solution that I came up with afterwards. So we have the dictionary of substrings defined up top, and then we get into the method. So this method has two parameters. It takes in a string and it takes in the dictionary. So first we just want to make sure that the string is all downcase, so we mutate that with this downcase bang. And I created an array called string array using string.split, and what that does is just put each word into its own element in the array. These could be chained together, and I'll show you that in the next solution. And then I define two arrays. So I have match array and count array. And what it says here, if substring from the dictionary is in the string, then we're going to push that substring to match array. So that's just a place to keep all the strings that do match. And then the count array, we count the number of times each dictionary substring occurs in the string, and then we push to count array. But we also have to remove zeros from that. Okay, so we should end up with two arrays, one that has a series of strings and one that has a series of integers that represents how many times that string occurred. Okay, and then what I do is I use the each method on dictionary. So I say for each element I in dictionary, execute this block of code. So first off, I use the ternary enumerable any on string array. And this will return true if this block also returns true. So what we're saying is there anything in string where the string includes I, the substring? Okay, and if it does, then we're going to push that I to the match array. Next, we're going to do the counts. So I define count, which is equal to the string array.count, and this is just going to count the number of times that this block returns true. So count the number of times that the string includes I, or the substring. So it's basically the same block being passed in twice with two different methods. And then we're going to push that count to the count array, but this will also be pushing in zeros, so we need to delete those zeros. And then what we will be left with is, like I said, two arrays, and each index in the array will match. So the 0 index in the match array, that string will correspond with the 0 index of count. Okay, and then what we need to do, the project asked to return a hash. So we need to convert those two arrays into a hash. And this is where this handy zip method and to_h method come in. And I had to look on Stack Overflow a little bit to figure this one out, but I'll just really quickly show you how they work. So if we say a is equal to, let's just say string 1 and string 2. So this would, for example, be your match array. And then B is going to be equal to 1 and let's say 3. So this would be your count array. So you'd be saying string 1 occurs 1 time, string 2 occurs 3 times because those indexes match. But we want to combine those in order to create the hash. So we're actually going to call a.zip b. Oh, I should define that. So C is equal to a.zip b. Okay, and then we end up with these nested arrays where each nested array has the substring and its count. And then it's much easier to turn this into a hash. So we say c dot to hash. There we go. So now we have a hash that has key value pairs that match the indexes of those two arrays. I have some puts calls here that just show the logic, and then I call the substring method twice. Once with this below string, and then once with a multiple word string here, matching what the Odin project did. Okay, let's just have a look at that. And this is what it looks like. So these are the puts calls. So these are the substrings from dictionary that match string. So we have below and low. So this is your match array. And these matches occur this many times, 1 and 1. So this is the count array. And then the final hash is this, below 1, low 1. And then for the second call with the longer string, say these are the substrings from dictionary that match string. So we have all of these strings here. And these matches occur this many times. So we have count array here. And then the final hash is as follows. And this matches the Odin project's output as well. So it works. I mean, it's not a bad solution. It's just not a very efficient solution. So a more efficient way to do it is like this. So again, I define dictionary up top with the strings, or an array of strings. And then we define the substring method, passing in or have parameters string and dictionary. Okay, and what makes this far more efficient is using these nested each methods on the arrays. And I'll show you how that works. So first off, I define a hash, an empty hash, which is going to get used within the logic down here. Then we create an array of the string. But here we chain the methods together, right, which is more efficient, saves a line of code. So string array is equal to string.downcase.split. So we're making sure it's all downcase, and then we're splitting it so that each element in the array is a word within the string. And then what we're doing is calling this each method on both arrays, and we're nesting them. So we're saying for string array.each, so each element in the string array, you're going to loop through that, and you're also going to loop through the dictionary array. So if you can imagine, if you had 10 elements in your string array and 10 elements in your dictionary array, you'd actually end up with 100 comparisons, right? So for each element in string array, we're passing through the entire dictionary array. Okay, so what we're saying here is if the string array includes the substring, and if the hash that we define up here has key, so this is a way to look up whether or not a key exists within the hash. So if it has the key value s, which is the substring, we're going to add 1 to the value of hash s. Okay, else we're going to create hash s with a value of 1. So this is a far more efficient way to add these values to a hash, as you can see. And at the end, we just need to put s the hash so that it does output onto the screen. And then I call the method 3 times here. So the first 2 times are the same as the call in the old solution. And then I just added 1 more, I guess, for fun. And let's call those. Okay, so I have far few puts outputs here. All it's giving you is the actual hash that is printing out the solution. So again here you can see that we do have a match here, below 1, low 1. This hash here equals this hash here, although the order of things is a little different. And then this hash here is just the output for the last call that I made here. Okay, so that's the method and how it works, and hopefully that makes sense to you. What really helped me here, as you can see, my first solution was pretty inefficient, let's say, and I'd been reading the documentation, I've been reading the exercises, but things hadn't quite sunk in just yet. And what I was missing here was the nesting of these each methods. And it really is quite similar to the Etch-a-Sketch project, where you need to do nested for loops to create your divs to create the grid. And so once I'd figured that was possible here, it made so much more sense and it made it far more efficient. But what I recommend here is, to help you really get used to all the different methods in Ruby that are at your disposal, is take a look at the Ruby documentation and have this bookmarked. Now, you're obviously not going to remember everything here, but if you have it as a quick reference and you're trying to figure something out, you might want to come here first and see what methods or enumerables are available to you. You can always check Stack Overflow, and usually if I'm not finding something right away in the documentation, I will Google it, and there's usually a Stack Overflow post. And then when I figure out the correct method to use based on the Stack Overflow post, then I'll come back to documentation and find it. But for example, if you want to be working with arrays, you just search your array here and it gives you all of these methods that are possible to use on arrays. And there's far more here than you're going to remember, but as you keep coming back to it and keep using these, they'll become a little more second nature, I think, and things will get a lot easier and your code will probably get far more efficient. As you can see the difference between my old version and the newer version of this solution. Okay, that's it. Please do take a look. Please give it a go and leave any comments if you have any questions, and have a good one. Thanks.